pretty much how Bob Dylan played Girl from the North Country, the first time he recorded it. This is, of course, on his second album, the Freewheelin Bob Dylan, 1963. And this picking style is his is a normal alternating bass fingerpicking thing that he just put together with some kind of really cool chords. Now, he did this capo at the 3rd fret using an E minor 9 and a D7 with F sharp in the bass and a G and a C with G in the bass, and that's pretty much it. So we're going to be breaking down the picking, what you just heard me do right there. We'll be going through it real slowly because it's such a cool little vamp almost. It's a little different than you hear that C with a lot of things. You hear it in or in anyway, we hear that C with G in the bass in all kinds of places, but it's really interesting how it works in here with this really relatively rapid picking that Bob is doing. And the song has got a really interesting history. He really kind of learned this style from Martin Carthy, who was an English folk singer from around in the early 60s, who really resurrected Scarborough Fair in the first place and brought that and showed it to Paul Simon in 1965, and it became a big hit over here. There we go. Paul put his own little thing on it, but it was basically the way Martin Carthy had arranged it. Now, Martin was in an early English folk band, Steel Eye Span, back in the days of Pentangle and a few others, Fairport Convention, of course. But anyway, the song goes way back centuries. Scarborough Fair does, but the style of it. I mean, and Bob even used the line in it. Remember me to the one who lives there. She once was a true love of mine. And but the history of Scarborough Fair is a whole different thing. I'll save that for another. It probably goes back 1,000 years. It goes back to kind of probably pagan England, probably not pre-pagan, pagan England, back to maybe the 5th, 6th century. Anyway, enough about that. What we're going to talk about in this song is really just how Bob played it. I'm not sure I'm going to get around to trying to sing it because it's difficult. I won't. He did it at the 3rd fret. We're going to do the lesson without the capo at the 3rd fret. So we'll get back to everything down here. You'll be hearing it here. Retune the guitar when you take the capo off. I'll do that before I get into the next segment. Now, of course, he also redid it a few years later on Nashville Skyline, completely different, and he is notorious for this, or famous for this, better term, for rearranging the music to his songs and rearranging the melody and just singing it completely differently than he did the first time. So this particular progression, he actually reused a couple of albums later in Boots of Spanish Leather. It's virtually the same song, same progression. One measure is a little bit different. I might talk about that a little bit later. But if you learn how to play this from this lesson, you'll be able to figure out what happens with Boots of Spanish Leather. Capo at 1, I believe, for that one, for his recording. And let's see, what else do I have to tell you about this? I think that's it. Maybe, you know what? Freewheelin might have come out in 62, by the way. No, 63. Okay, that doesn't matter. But he was putting out a lot of albums back in those days. This was his second album. This was the second song on the second album, where the first song was Blowin' in the Wind. Been listening to a lot of his stuff lately. It's been really fun. Okay, that's it for the little preview here. We will get into taking a look at the tab. The chart that I have, is not really going to be that helpful because the chords you really have to look at the tab to figure this out. So we'll really just be breaking it down into what you got to do in the next segment.